Hi, I'm Di from Country Lane Prints, and I'm just going to give you a quick walkthrough that a journal that I've just made using my Letters of the Past junk journal kit that's in my Etsy store, and then after that I'll show you how I actually put it together. So it's basically just a laminated cover that I used. First of all, I collaged the cover itself and then laminated it because I used leftover water paper that I had, and that wasn't strong enough, so I figured I'd just laminate it. Then I just punched 2 holes in there, and then I have a dingly dangly going through the middle with the binding, just a little one over there, and then I just had a couple of beads tied to some leather thread when we put this together. So just a quick walk through. I haven't added any embellishments to it because this journal is specifically designed for writing, and I want people to be able to put their own sort of goodies and pieces in. But these are some of the well, in fact these are all of the pages, and I'll just give you a quick whip through. Use different techniques just to get some interesting pages, so it's not just a plain boring old junk journal. A couple of butterflies and rosettes, all digital of course, and then back into the center. Okay, so that is it, and I will show you now how I made it. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take out this junk journal kit of mine called Letters of the Past. I've set them up to print on 8.5 by 11, but because I'm based in South Africa, they're printing on A4, so they come out a little bit shorter. So I'm just going to adjust my journal to fit that. So the first thing I'll do is just cut them out, and then I'll come back. Okay, so what I've just done now is I've laminated the cover, and I'm just going to cut the edges off, and then we'll start doing the binding. So I'll just nip it off ever so slightly at the ends, not too close, otherwise you dislodge the laminating. And the reason why I laminated this one is because I was using leftover watercolor paper that wasn't very thick, so I wanted the cover to be quite durable. And we'll just nip off that side. But you can use either laminating pouches, or alternatively you get, we call it in South Africa, we call it clear sticky plastic, which you can then place over. I think in the US it's called self-laminating plastic. And then all I'm going to do is just nip off the corners. There we go. Alright, that's done. Now the little journal cover is ready, so all I'm going to do is just fold it back over the fold line and use my bone folder to smoothen it out. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to punch 2 little holes in here for a connection that we can then tie a little ribbon with. So let me get my hole punch out. And to find the middle, I would normally just take a square piece of paper, make sure it fits, and fold it in half. And get my halfway mark, so roughly there by that little fencing. Just by that black dot. Okay, so just there. I mean, you could eyeball it, but I just want a rough idea. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a couple of eyelets. Well, that was almost right. That's fine. Okay, let's have a look at what we've got. So this is quite a beigey one. I could use my copper ones, or I could just go for the silver. Okay, so I'm just going to use the silvers. 2. Alright, and then that's the front of the journal, so this one needs to go in the front. And that pointy end goes in that side. And then you just squeeze. Okay, I need to be a bit tighter with that. These might be a bit long for this, given the thickness. There you go. Okay, that looks a bit messy. I actually don't like that. I'm going to take that out, put a new one in. That's better. Okay, and that's done. And now we can start setting the journal up to be stitched in. Alright, so we'll check that that all fits nicely. That's looking really cool. Okay, so again, taking a piece of spare paper, I'm just simply going to use this one and tear off a piece. So to get my holes in terms of where I want to punch, I simply, and this is a method I learned from, I think it was Guy, I can't remember her surname, I'll link her channel below. So she measured out a piece of paper like that, folded it in half, and folded it in half again, and then this bit she folded in half again. And then the same on the other side. So now when you open it up, you've got your, let me just draw this in with pencil, you've got your halfway mark there, and you've got your other mark there. So that's basically going to be my hole punching. And then if you put the document against it, it still all fits in very comfortably. So you'd follow the same mark here, get the middle of the document or the pages and mark them. Okay. So that's what I'm going to do now. Now, because this is a laminated plastic, I am going to not be able to mark it. So I'm going to flip my board over to my messy side and get my big drawing pin. Now you could use an awl or any sharp pointed thing. I don't have an awl, but I do have one of these giant drawing pins. So I'm just simply going to use this, and in the fold, I'm going to make my hole and push it through. And it's going into my board, which is why this side of the board looks like it does. So there's my hole. And then I'm going to do this side here. And push it through. Make sure it's on the other side. Yep, there it is. And then again, just back to the piece of paper. And there. Okay, so now that's the cover done. There's the holes. Okay, now we can go and do the inside. Again, find the middle. So in my cases, my pages are exactly 20 centimeters, which means that 10 centimeters is mid-mark. There we go. So there's my middle mark. And then I'm going to put this here. And in the center there, I'm going to mark it. And on the fold line over here, I'm going to mark it. All right. Now what I normally do is I will clip these pages before I start making the holes, just to keep it all level. So push them all in, clip it, make sure it's all lined up, clip it there. Okay. Now again I can just take my drawing pin and in the middle, punch through the holes. And then this one. And then this one. Now you don't have to use your board like this. You can also put a book in there and use the fold, the inside of the fold of the book to punch the holes. I've just always used the side of the board, and then when I'm done I just flip it back over again. Okay. So that's already there, my holes. So now we're ready to start stitching. I'm going to use some baker's twine for this. I quite like this and it's quite durable. So I've got a fairly big darning needle, which takes me a while to put this in. Okay, there it is. Now what I normally do is I will take 3 times the length of my pamphlet stitch that I'm going to be doing. So I'll take it up to there and just snip it here. Alright, let's get rid of that. So the way you start is I start by going in through the center of the page before I put the cover on and pull it. Now if you battle to pull it through, which I sometimes do because this needle's quite big, I just simply take a pair of pliers and pull it through and get it to a point where there's a reasonable length there. Then I will take my cover, and now we've got to make sure we have this cover the right way. So that's the right way. That's the right way. So I'm going to feed it through the middle hole. Pull it through and pull it a bit tight. Now I can actually get rid of these. Oh, and I bombed it because I pulled it too much. So I'm just going to go through again. And go through the middle one. Okay. Give that quite a long length. Right, then I'm going to go through the top hole over here. And then through these holes here. Okay, so we make sure that it's neatly lined up at the back. We've got length there. And then I'm going to go through all the way down to the bottom through that hole. Okay, so went in through the middle, out to the top, came all the way down to the bottom, and now I'm going to go back in through the middle, not through the thread. So I'm just making sure that everything's nice and tight, holding on to this one, and I'm simply going to go back into the hole on the other side, but not through the thread, and also making sure that I come out on the other side of this thread. There. You can always come back and tighten it all later, so I'm just going to pull it through the cover first and then go through the pages. Okay, and I'm coming up other side of this middle thread. Okay, so I'm testing everything, making sure it's all tight there. Let's make sure that that one's a bit tighter. That's a bit loose. Let me just see them. It feels tight, but let's just check on the inside if there's anything going on there. Okay, and then all I'm going to do is do a double knot with that middle piece in the middle, and I'm going to leave this string quite long because what I might just do at the end is add a little dingly dangly there, and that is the correct way. Okay, so there it is. We now have a finished journal that's been decoupaged or collaged, laminated with the pages from the journal. And now I can start to pretty it up, although the purpose of this particular journal is to let people do the embellishment themselves. Let's just whip through it, it looks good. It's looking really good, actually. Okay, and that's the middle of the signature, okay. So now let's just put a little piece of ribbon or something on I might just even use a bit of this leather as a tie for now. Let's see how I'm going to do it. So I'm just going to take 2 of these, loop it through. And just do a little slip knot there. Then come back on this side and do the same thing. Okay, now you can glue that if you want to, and you can add a few dingle dangles, but literally all you now have to do is just tie it closed, and there it is, plain and simple. I've used different colors here. You could obviously stick to the same colors. I just wanted to get some of the blue out, and I may change this later, but then I can just shorten this a bit and maybe put 1 or 2 beads on, and I'll show you what that looks like when it's finished. So that's basically it. One way of using the letters from the past junk journal pages. So I've collaged the cover, laminated it, and then used all the papers in here basically just more as a journaling journal than having all sorts of bits of memory. But there's nothing stopping you adding your own stuff, or using just individual pages. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that.